I want to talk about the BBC because, and I'm going to give you examples. Nick Robinson, that presenter, journalist type, has come out today and he's blaming the slump in the figures for the Today programme on news avoiders. Have you heard of those before? No, me neither. And I thought, news avoiders? Ordinarily, when there's something big happens, we would all rush to the BBC because it ain't got commercials. We would rush to the BBC, whether it's big state events or whether it was big news happening. We would just flock to the BBC. Now, it's the last port of call on my list. I don't know about you. You can tell me in the comments. But I do believe that what we have going on now in society is go woke, go broke. I'm going to give you 3 examples of the BBC going woke and how if they continue like this, they're going to go broke as well as get their licence fee taken off them. But Nick Robinson blaming the slumping figures for Radio 4's Today programme on news avoiders. Because we know we're not getting the truth. We know we're getting an agenda. That's why we're not interested, Nick, mate. Keep taking the shekel. So I want to give you an example of the BBC and why their local radio should just be wrapped up. It's not serving anybody. It's not. And costing tens and tens, if not hundreds of millions of pounds. Me and you, not anybody else, me and you, because it's a tax. TV. Can you remember when we were kids? The TV licensing van might come round and somebody says, oh, I saw the TV license van in the street last night. Everybody's like, well, quick, turn the telly off. We haven't got a license. Not in our house. Obviously, we were law abiding. But local radio, when I sort of came out of the BBC around 2006, I think it was, I came out of BBC Cleveland. And at that point, BBC local radio was just getting rid of the guys, getting rid of the lads. So if they hired someone, it would be invariably woke. Woman, skin tone, sexual preference, it would be all that. Now I'm white, heterosexual, an older boy. I would never get a position, a presenter's position or a show. I might do. They might take me for me wisdom and me gall. I don't know. But I will tell you that local radio, local BBC radio around the country only hired women. Only. So they had some of my friends had to reapply for their job, and some of them got it, some of them didn't. They're going to go to networked programs, but the initial rot set in when they went, no, we're not going to hire blokes. No, it's too male orientated. So we'll just have an injection of estrogen. Thank you very much. Brilliant. Brilliant. Because do you know what happened? People started switching off. They weren't interested in what was being foisted upon them. This is a particular generation. Super serve their listeners. Now, when I started in commercial radio in the 80s, there was an old adage that women used to prefer male voices. This is not sexism at all, but it was a known fact by the people that ran commercial radio stations, and commercial radio stations had to live or die by their figures. They couldn't have people walking away from the radio station because the radio station would go under. The radio station I joined was losing 25 grand a month because people had had enough of whatever was going on. And then we were bought out by Metro Radio up the road in Newcastle. They bought us, turned it around, had the local shops listening, but it was known in the 80s that women preferred male voices on the radio. And men, so women wanted to, do the dance with you as a radio presenter, and the males just wanted to go out and have a beer with you because you sounded like an interesting guy. So now, presenters have to be feminists. Meanwhile, people are voting with their feet. They're off ski. They're not interested. And I'll give you another example. So I was a big, big fan from being a small boy of Doctor Who. It used to scare the bejesus out of me. The Daleks and all the baddies. I used to hide behind the sofa when the Daleks came on. I hated them because they were just too scary. So I've loved it. And then in the 80s, it kind of went a bit awry. They couldn't quite get it. And then Christopher Eccleston, one of my favourite actors, became Doctor Who. And I was like, yeah, beauty, wonderful. And he made along with Billy Piper, made Doctor Who edgy. Made it edgy. And it was really cool to like Doctor Who. And then 10-inch Tennant came along with Billy as his sidekick. And they were really, really cool. Doctor Who was a wonderful watch. And then what did they do? They went woke. And what happened? Everybody walked away, switched off. Now, Doctor Who was a massive money earner for the BBC in the States. And even in the States, they started switching off. So I don't understand which part of go woke, go broke are the BBC not understanding. Now, maybe they think that, oh, we've had the license fee for the last 50 odd years. So people will just make them pay it. Yeah, we get it's a tax. But some people are choosing not to buy the TV license because they're not watching the BBC because it's shite. They're not wanting to watch anything that you're putting out. Maybe for Call of Duty. Jesus, Mary and the wee donkey. So there are some things that we will, event TV, but most of it, I've never listened to any BBC radio for donkey's years. Why? Because it's shite. Some of the presenters on national stations I sacked in 1996 for being shite. But they're female. So they fit the parameters that the BBC want to work to. Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Go woke, go broke. So and somebody asked me on Sundays live, Adrian, what do you think of the BBC? Oh, it's done. It's done. It's not going to be around. People are not going to traditional media now. They're not going to newspapers. They're not going to the telly. They're going to YouTube. And they're going to the apps on their phone. That everything they're accessing through their phone. So the BBC's done. It's a busted flush. But they'll hang on to the wreckage because there's billions in there. What was it? 3.5 billion a year they get from the license fee? Well, the license fee goes to the government. Then the government pays the BBC. So technically it's a tax. So I can't, look, I'm a very difficult listener because I know the game. I know what goes on. I know how they do it. I know why they do it in all the different guises. And as far as radio presentation's concerned, I've forgotten more than these dweebs know that's on the radio at the moment. I've done 40 odd years of this. I've done speech, I've done music, I've done chart rundowns, I've done every day part in commercial radio. And I listen to them and I think, is that the best you've got? That was shite. That's the best you've got. And I listen to some breakfast shows. Oi, 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 oi. That's your biggest audience creator. Oi, 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 oi. So to the person that asked me what I thought of the BBC, I'm just reflecting on the question that you asked on Sunday. It's good to see David Tennant back as the Doctor, but then they're going woke again. They're giving it to another woke Doctor. I don't know which part of you're destroying things does the BBC not get.